Travis Wayne Goodsell. 1 Nephi, chapter 1, verse 2. Yea, I make a record in the language of my father, which consists of the learning of the Jews and the language of the Egyptians. Joseph Smith history. Verse 19. Every single Mormon missionary knows this. I was answered that I must join none of them, Christianity. For they, Christianity, were all wrong. And the personage, no name, described as Emmanuel, though, sun god at noonday, who addressed me, said that all their creeds, Christian creeds, wonder what the first one is, were an abomination in his sight. As a result, we now understand why Christianity is an abomination. Roman Emperor Constantine, the first creed that created and established the anti-Semitic Christianity, culturally appropriated the Jewish religion and replaced their scriptures, and replaced their Christ. And in so becoming anti-Semitic, they are an abomination. And now do you understand why every single professor of Christianity are all corrupt? Because they all draw near to draw near to me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They teach for doctrines the commandments of men, having a form of godliness, but deny the power thereof. So, what church is this again, Mormons? It's the Church of Jesus Christ, the abomination Joseph Smith talks about, because it's anti-Semitic. Anybody who professes to be Christian is corrupt, anti-Semitic. And so, is Jesus your Christ? Yeah, you claim he is, isn't he? He's the abomination. Which makes this Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as the Book of Mormon calls it, the great and abominable church. Because it has the abominable Christ from Christianity. Because they're anti-Semitic. They replaced the Jewish religion, scriptures, and Christ. They turned their apocalyptic literature into literal history, diverting everyone away from the Jewish prophecies of the latter days. And as I keep going over with you over and over and over and over and over and over, this is the final year of the latter days. And because this is the bicentennial year of Joseph Smith's second vision, the day that shall burn as an oven, and revealing our true Christ as being the learning of the Jews from Deuteronomy, section 103:16, he's Mormon. We may not have an October conference. We'll have to wait and see, but September 22nd seems to be a specific date that Joseph Smith is trying to get into our heads. Even though it starts on the 21st, but it's in the evening, which means in the learning of the Jews, it's the 22nd of September. And so the next 4 years, Joseph claims the 22nd being educated on the day that shall burn as an oven. He had nothing to do with the translation by the gift and power of God of the plates. That was Sidney Rigdon. But again, if you're going to not understand that this was written by somebody that was published 1829 for the 1830 church. But if you're going to be stuck on Jesus and turn Joseph Smith's religion, or replace, shall we say, into Christianity with Jesus, making it literal history, yeah, you're going to be upset with me because this isn't true. Your falsehood is then true. You refuse to accept the real history of this church because you've replaced Joseph Smith's religion with Christianity and Jesus Christ. You've replaced his scriptures, you replaced his Christ. You're an abomination. Brigham Young's usurped church, as the first president of it, is the great and abominable church. And after the United States shut it down in 1887, Heber J. Grant reorganized it in 1923. 1921, he republished the scriptures to be more conforming to evangelicalism, getting rid of the lectures on faith. And then 1922, yeah, that's where that Arizona lady who did her thesis on the intellectual meeting of the church leaders, or intellectual Mormons who had their secret meeting discussing how the church isn't true literal history. Yeah, that's what she failed to understand, because she still allowed Mormon bias to influence her document. We're Jewish. I just read it to you. There's a whole bunch of Judaic thinking in the visionary accounts, especially the second one, as he's going to the Jewish prophecy of the latter-day Christ, of the learning of the Jews, and then would go on to call him Mormon. And so the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, obviously, in order to maintain the lie that they are a succession from Joseph Smith, they have to refuse to officially declare outside of the website itself, because on the website they do, that the Joseph Smith papers are our corrected, expanded canon of Scripture. It's the new quad, Mormons. But they can't tell you it is, other than going to the website yourself and reading the words, the authoritative source. That means that our Scripture canon is null and void and has been replaced by Joseph Smith's original documents. But the church aren't making corrections to the Scriptures, are they? They're not going to do that. They're not even going to tell you that you probably should read it instead of your regular Scriptures. Nope. You should. There's bombshells in there that just utterly destroys this church. And that's why they won't do it. Because if there weren't bombshells in there, they'd have no problem saying, hey, we're putting out a new edition of our Scriptures. It's available online. Footnoted. Yeah, 17 March 1842, women. Now in our Scriptures. Wouldn't that be awesome? First presidency announcing priesthood and priesthood office for the Relief Society. Both Melchizedek and Aaronic. Yep. Bombshell. I told you. Brigham Young, false prophet, had Joseph Smith murdered. Joseph Smith prophesied of it. came to pass. We've been lying to you about Carthage jail. It was Willard Richards who shot Joseph Smith in the back after he was mourning over his brother who had been shot by John Taylor. And then Joseph Smith shot him with the 3 remaining balls, chased him under the bed. And then Willard Richards dumped the body of Joseph out the window. And then they lied, saying that he was doing the Freemason widow's son call for help. No. I have seen one drawing of that period where it does show Willard Richards throwing the body of Joseph Smith out the window. That was interesting. But their testimonies were lies because they even contradicted each other, not just the forensic evidence. And so, yes, President Spencer W. Kimball had to make sure to cover up the evidence as best as possible so that no Mormon would ever catch on and do an investigation like I did and learn the truth about what happened. And so the church has been pushing for their kingdom back. That's the big push. They must have that kingdom, which means the destruction of the United States of America. But there's been some problems and some setbacks. But they have other plans to accomplish their end goal. And so they came up with this religious freedom exemption clause from obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law. Article of Faith number 12. They don't want to do it. They want their own kingdom. They want their land back. And so, the Respect for Marriage Act was a disrespect for marriage because of the exemption clause that the church put in there, which then GOP votes were okay with it now. Oh, religion can refuse to follow this law? I'm okay with it then. Yeah, kind of a worthless law. And yet Democrats are going, yay, religious freedom or not religious freedom, but marriage freedom, respect, yay. No, you got disrespected. They pulled the con on you. And they're in denial of it. But as you can see, our nation, along with the church, are setting women up to go back to the handsmaid tale days of Brigham Young, where women are sex slaves in polygamy. Nelson already changed in 2019, the law of chastity to return polygamy. And as you are required under oath, loyalty oath, with a covenant and promise that you will observe and keep the law of chastity, all men must divorce their wife so that they can then marry another woman. Yeah, it's the divorce loophole that the church is pulling on the United States of America. Because to have a marriage certificate with the United States, in any of its states, you cannot have a second one at the same time. So the church, in order to continue the practice of polygamy, even though they claim in the official declaration number 1 that they will stop, they lied yet again. Have this loophole so that when your wife dies or when you divorce, the church doesn't recognize a civil divorce. You can still get married to another person because the law only sees the certificate. And as long as there are no certificates, you can have as many spiritual wives as you want. And so the only problem is that the church has to at least appear to be conforming to the law. So right now, you can't just go to the church and say, I want a sealing, but not be for the civil marriage. They won't let you do that, at least for the general populace. I have no examples of any suggestion that anybody is doing it that way, but they can. Because as long as it's just spiritually, and the law doesn't care if you have sex with multiple women. They don't care if you even live with multiple women. It's just you can't have a marriage certificate with multiple women. That's the only catch, which is weird. But Nelson is bringing polygamy back. That's the main point of this message. He's ordering men to get divorced. And those who will be loyal to him right now will be identified as loyalists when they get their kingdom. Are you listening, men? Mormon men? Do you want to be elevated into authority in the kingdom? This is how you show your worthiness. Sorry, women. Sucks to be you in the Mormon church. I mean, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The great and abominable Church of Lucifer. That's why there's an inverted pentagram on the keystone of the doors of the Salt Lake Temple. It's blatant and it's obvious. I didn't even find out until I got married and had our pictures taken there. And so mine's a weird situation because we got annulled, not divorced. Which means our marriage never existed. Except the church doesn't acknowledge annulments either. And so we're still sealed together. So I can be a polygamist. The only problem is I'm not going back to church. So I will not be going back to my bishop and demonstrate my worthiness by paying the protection racket money of tithing. This is what gangsters and crime bosses and mafia families do as their economic source of fraud and crime. It's called a protection racket. It's supposed to protect Mormons from the day that shall burn as an oven. It's this year. And the church doesn't want to dish out any of that money, just like an insurance company. Oh, you had flood insurance? Well, you didn't have the right flood insurance, and so you don't get money, or you don't get enough money to handle all of the stuff. You're going to have to pay for the remainder of the repairs. Insurance companies. This is the church. They are full-out criminal. They got busted by the SEC, which has to do with the tax violations that they're also committing. But the IRS still has yet to come out and punish the church for their tax evasion and for their tax fraud. Because once it's identified that they're committing tax fraud, now they'll be in violation of the 501c3 for tax-exempt status, and thus be committing tax evasion, because they'll now owe taxes for this whole time. That will be billions of dollars. Plus the money that they're keeping secret by not reporting it. Which is where the SEC came in, exposing that the church has a lot of money that they're not reporting. And they're putting it in offshore bank accounts, as the person in Australia had identified. And so, the conference, we're going to hear a lot of blah, blah, blah about how they're anti-Semitic. Talking about Jesus and Easter. It's going to be disgusting and horrifying to listen to. but I need to make a record of the history of the entire utter destruction of Mormons, because Mormons refuse to recognize that Jesus is not their Christ. That's a weird trailer. It was like a bus converted into a trailer, but a very long RV trailer attached to the back of the red pickup truck. Interesting. But well, then Nelson will finish with announcement of any temples. And you're saying, well, why would he still do temples? We're about to have the day that shall burn as an oven. You're not getting it. When you know in advance and have paid for it to happen certain things, this is where stock market manipulation occurs, where you purposely set up the conditions for the rise and fall of the stock market so that you can profit off of it. But it's also involving insurance fraud, as well as the obtaining of land after a certain destruction shall occur. And so that's why the church is, under Nelson especially, has been escalating the pace of temples, going all in getting as many temples as possible here. The interest that they get from the 10% that they had put over into Ensign Peak Advisors is more than what they get in tithing. And what they get in tithing is used to purchase the temples throughout the land and throughout the world. And so notice Putin was given money for a temple in Russia as part of their deal. They made the announcement, which means they gave the money. They were just working out the fine details of which city it would be built in. Right? Yeah. So, yeah, Putin used the money to start a war with Ukraine and to pay Cozy Bear to hack Americans and government and other first responder facilities. Even the church got hacked. But I think it might have been Chinese, or was it Iranian? But regardless, yeah, the church got hacked as well. And so when he announces temples, it's not just for the land grab. He's specifically getting land for the purpose of having a deed for the property. And so Utah, for example, they want their kingdom back. They want their land back. How better to get the land back than by buying up the land for temples and churches and other church facilities. And that's why there's a lot of temples in Utah. Because the church membership is not increasing anymore. The number of new converts with those who die and those who leave, it's dropping. Well, sort of, but we're not really increasing. It's tricky because they're not being honest with us with the actual membership count. But they still, have they not released it yet? We'll check. We might have breaking news for you here. Come on. Don't freeze on me. Okay, it doesn't look like they have 2022s out yet. I'm still seeing... Oh, wait a minute. Fuller Consideration has LDS unit statistics for 2022. So that would indicate the Wikipedia page should also... Nope, it's still at 2021. So what's Fuller? How did you guys get it? Statistics on 16 October. Uh-huh. Yeah. We're both in China and Saudi Arabia. Told ya. Those are enemies to America. But Saudi Arabia was the... We already knew that because of Shanghai. And so, yeah, they are actually claiming to have the stats for 2022. Are you sure it's not 2021? No, it's 2022. Interesting. As of October 17th, 2022. They're no longer reporting new data as of October 17th, 2022. Oh, did the church shut you down? Interesting. So, do you have a membership number then? Annual membership statistics. They're not helping me here, guys. Updated 2018. No. So, nope, still not out yet then. But it is interesting that they had up until October 17th, 2022 for the number of temples, missions, districts, stakes, wards, branches and stakes, branches and missions. It includes approximations of 91 branches and 9 districts in sensitive locations. You mean enemy territory? That are contrary to America's... Yeah, they're working with enemy governments, terrorist countries. And so, like I said, the meeting with the Saudi Arabian princess was a business meeting. It wasn't about shared values and beliefs. They lie. And so, that's pretty much going to be it for conference. This is the Antisemitic conference because it's being held on Easter weekend. And it's a dismissal of the Jewish Passover, which is what it was originally until it was culturally appropriated by Constantine for Christianity. And became an abomination. And so, yeah, Now, when you watch conference, and you should know your enemy. Know thine enemy. Know their playbook. Know what they're up to. Because otherwise, like Mormons who don't, they listen with a Christian interpretation. And as a result, they are brainwashed. They are weaponized. And thus you see that I'm suppressed with views because of YouTube assisting the church in this criminal activity against me. So that despite the 9 years being on YouTube, I'm still struggling to get views per video. So it's because the church knows me. And not because of the church history, but yeah, they are pissed with that. But they should have just left me alone in the beginning, like Hinckley did. Hinckley left me alone. And so I continued to be supportive and loyal of the church, going to the temple each and every single day. And then Monson took over and all hell broke loose. Apparently he wanted to try a different tactic to destroy my life. And I was indefinitely incarcerated for what ended up being only 6 years because of 3 retirements that occurred. Otherwise I'd still be locked up there if they had no retirements. I would never get out. I never had a trial. I was never convicted of any crime, which I filed a petition for a redress of grievances with the church and the state. And so the state, being run by Mormons, aided and abetted in the church, and I was indefinitely incarcerated, rather than kidnapping, which is what I was, as I was held hostage in the men's shelter for 9 months. Just last year. Into this year. And that was because as the church attacks me, I rebel. And in my rebellion, I expose more of the church. And then they attack me. And then I expose more. And then they attack me. And I expose more. And they attack me. And I expose more. They don't learn their lesson. I will not be silenced. They can lock me up all they want, and they have, but I will not be silenced. But this is the final year. This is where it all hits the fan for their kingdom. Because they're getting impatient. Oakes is desperate to get more wives. He's going around saying that the church, or the United States, is evil because they wouldn't allow the church our religious freedom. And it's just horrifying. It's an abomination, literally. And so there's other things that are coming for their kingdom that I've been disclosing with you. You know, like the pure white master race. That's going to be done. They're going to be in a conundrum because they can no longer replace Joseph Smith's religion, scripture, and Christ with Christianity and Jesus, because they're planning on a wide-scale, worldwide destruction of Christianity. Thus, Mormonism, as Christian, with Jesus, will also be destroyed, so that they can go back to a Luciferian religion, with Lucifer as the Christ. And in order to do that, they're going to have to replace the Jewish Joseph's religion that they replaced with the Christian religion, now with a Luciferian religion replacement. And so they're going to have to come out and say, well, we told you he was using a rock and a hat. That's witchcraft. This is what we're all about. And yet not a single prophet from Brigham to Nelson have had that magical power. Joseph Smith had nothing to do with that. It's the learning of the Jews. It's symbolic for the latter-day Christ, who would be a mortal human being according to the learning of the Jews. And so, yeah, it's going to be scary, guys. And it's frustrating that I can't get the views because the Mormon YouTube employee, who's, I don't know what happened that week, that didn't make any sense to me. If he went on vacation, he has access to his cell phone to put a thumbs down on all my videos. It doesn't make any sense. Why he gave up that 1 week makes no sense to me. And it allowed me to get more views that 1 week. And I was thinking, oh, great, right before conference. This is awesome. But it fizzled as the next week he came back with a thumbs down. But didn't go back to the older videos. That was strange. But nonetheless, they're back. And they're suppressing my voice again. Because I'm not able to get big views anymore. You know, the one I have about the changing of the name, that's only because I put conference in it. People are now starting to look it up. I should also include Cook. This is a good way to combine stuff together. He spoke to the missionaries at the MTC this past week and strongly urged them that no, seriously? Oh, it's in the, yeah, it's the picture. I didn't do a word save. Approach missionary work with urgency. Okay? So, I went on my mission to the New York mission, and I was told that, you know, it's important that people convert to our church so that they can be saved after they're dead and continue to pay the protection racket money of tithing. I was clueless on that. But he's now saying urgency. But despite saying the word urgent, he is quoted, everybody that you love, you just met them, taught them a few lessons, now they're wanting to become members, maybe. They're at that decision-making time. Will be blessed because you are serving as an emissary of a person who doesn't exist, Jesus Christ. It's a distraction and it doesn't explain the urgency. Okay, so you're an emissary of Jesus Christ and I'm going to be blessed. What's the urgency then? Live my whole life without being blessed. What's the urgency? Again, blessings are physical, tangible results. They're not something that you'll experience with your feelings or after you're dead. That's the con. But this is the final year, and Cook knows this because he's a part of the plot. And with that, they're doing their final push. I noticed the Christmas box things that you put money into to give to the church and make it feel like you're donating to a charity or something. It's more to the coffers of the church. It's continuing. They're still having them out there. It's now the giving vending machine or something like that. I saw that on the church news this past week, I think, or the week before. But they're not using it just for Christmas now. Now in the final year, they're having as many opportunities for them to collect as much money as they can before it all hits the fan. And it's going to hit the fan because we still have a debt crisis looming. We're going to default we've already defaulted on our debt, and we're waiting for when we can no longer pay our expenses. And thus, programs will be cut in this United States, as it will continue to be cut and cut and cut, and the economy collapses, and all chaos breaks loose. Dear God. So, this is what they're doing. They're buying land. They're getting as much money as they can from all different kinds of sources as they can. They're involved in charity work, which is how they profit. They claim to donate, but the donations came from other people. And then they follow the same pattern that they did for tithing. And they give 10% to an LLC company that invests in the stock market and gains interest. And then they have the remainder of the money that didn't get spent that goes into an offshore account to gain interest and be hidden from the law and from the IRS and the SEC. And then you have the stuff that they actually do donate. 12 shirts donated to the children of Africa. Stuff like that. When you actually look at the big picture of how filthy rich the church is, you realize how little they're giving. And like I've done the videos multiple times, every organization or cause that the church donates to another charity for, because it's trickle-down economics, they don't give directly to the people in need. The people always get worse with whatever it is. Drought in Africa? Just had an Elder Ballard on the church news. Oh, it's been 20 years. How have they done? No, they haven't done. They don't want to cover that. They want to talk about what's faith promoting. Ballard going to see how to spend the money. Oh, it rained. We're not going to spend the money. They got rain. They're fine now. Well, it's worse in Africa, in that very place that he went. And so the money that they gave to charity was worthless because it didn't get to the people. And yet the church is bragging that they're charitable. But the results are corruption and filthiness. We know them by their fruits. They are pure evil. And so all of these charities are for profit making. At the shelter, the church donated money to the shelter. Oh, there's Mormons who work at the shelter. They pay tithing. That's money laundering that the church is involved with here. They're putting in donated money into the shelter and getting in return tithing money. Laundered. Because tithing is a crime. They took good money from other people and put it into the shelter and then got tithing money back for it, which is criminal. And then plus they're holding the homeless hostage. As I wasn't supposed to get this apartment, as I've been going over with you. It is a miracle I got in here. And this place is a miracle that I can afford it. Oh my God. Because it is a lot of money to move and a lot of money to move in. And I could never have gotten this place. I had to pester and demand that the people at the shelter keep their promise to me. Because if they don't keep their promise, I don't get out, and I was being human trafficked. That's what they're doing by rounding up the homeless there and keeping them there. They're not giving them places to live, which means they're holding us hostage. Not indefinite incarceration, although the government is part of the people involved with it. And thus, the government, likewise, they gave money from the taxpayers to the shelter, but the money doesn't go to the homeless. It goes to the people who work there, specifically the corporate board. And then the employees give that money back to the government as taxes. And so what was the point of donating the money in the first place if none of it's for the poor that it was supposed to be used for? Then you realize, it wasn't supposed to be used for the poor. It was supposed to be used for the charity organization that is the shelter. And so the whole system is corrupted. And that's why the homeless are not getting homes, despite this other organization that's claiming that they're making buildings and they're going to house 20% of the homeless for the next 20 years or so. No, it's worthless. I saw it. They're little tiny apartments. I bet you they don't even allow Wi-Fi. And you definitely can't build up stuff for that apartment like I can do here. Even though it is a studio, but still I was able to put all my stuff that I was able to recover from my previous apartment. And then, I was attacked by the property manager of the storage unit. Dear God. People just are committing crimes against me because I know what the church is up to, and I'm exposing it. So, this is a long video. I was able to get a couple of stuff from my big old pile of list. Getting Cook and the pre-show for conference in. But still have lots more to cover, because this is my last opportunity to reach the most number of Mormons. Conference, I get the most views. Because the algorithm can't be rigged against me, because it'll also be rigged against the church at the same time. So I'm piggybacking off of the church to bypass the algorithms against me. And YouTube is already in the courts for supporting white supremacist groups and getting paid, profiting off of supporting the white supremacist groups, getting them more views. So, that's what's going on. And so we need to protest the church, not just leave the church. You need to leave the church first. But protesting needs to be done, and it needs to be done in large numbers, not individuals numbers. I can't do it myself. Others all need to join in. And you guys are not understanding the seriousness of the situation. You understood the seriousness when the bishop got excommunicated because he told the church that there needs to be a set list of questions for temple worthiness or church worthiness for kids, as the bishops were asking sexual oriented questions of the children. Now, that's just not right. And so the church excommunicated him. How dare you question us? They're going to child brides, not just polygamy, guys. That's why 2022 was the grooming for kids year. And also the 666 April conference for women, the Relief Society. But they are They did conform, but only because that bishop was able to get thousands of supporters to sign a petition to force the church to make the change. But whenever they claim or appear to be making change, they always have ulterior motives to eventually bypass it and go back to normal. So that's sad. And so we're now at war with Syria, in case you haven't been paying attention to the news. And it's Iranian-backed militia groups in Syria, from what I'm being told from the news. But we are at war now. I mean, yeah, Congress is supposed to declare war, but since when has that stopped presidents? Since Nixon? Or was it even earlier? I think it was earlier. Because the whole purpose of assassinating Kennedy was to declare war by Johnson. So, and so yeah, we're technically at war now, even though we were punching bags for Putin, as Putin kept escalating and taunting us and teasing us, trying to provoke us to fight. When he's already attacked us, we're already at war with him. So let's just finish him off. Nope. Because of the Sisters of Fatima and their vision that they claim they had as kids, or the one sister who was still alive wrote about what the three of them experienced as kids. And it's just Ezekiel 38 is what it is. And so Bruce R. McConkie likewise knows about this, as he wrote the chapter headings and said that war in Ukraine is the commencement of Armageddon. Jesus Christ is going to be coming in the midst of that war. But again, doesn't exist. He's a fraud. Adam-on-Diamond, fraud. Jesus is not getting the keys from Lucifer for government. They're going to overthrow the government. And so you can see, if you're watching the news regularly and not Fox News, they're lying to you. You have to watch all the news. PBS and Reuters also covers world news. And if you watch liberal press, you're going to have to weed out the liberal bias, because they love to use psychology on you with opinion polls and response videos and interviews. How does that make you feel? Oh, what's your reaction to this? That's not news. That's emotional manipulation. And MSNBC and others are involved in that form of manipulation. Whereas Fox, they just outright lie to you. Because that's what you want to hear, are the lies. So, yeah, the things are setting up like a chess game. And we're all doomed. We're all going to die. Seriously, I don't see Mormons rising up to save themselves, because they don't see it coming. They refuse and deny that it's coming. And you don't believe me because I'm not Nelson. I'm not the president of the church who will be at the pulpit of the conference. You don't recognize my authority, despite my demonstration of the physical manifestation of the gifts of who's supposed to be the president of the church, the man like Moses, the Jewish Christ, of prophet, seer, revelator, and, most importantly, translator. The world recognizes me as a translator. I am very popular lately on academia. Huge rush of followers. Sort of died down a little bit lately, but nonetheless, I am well known worldwide for my decipherment of Paleo-Hebrew. That's what everybody is interested in. But I've got more. I've done more. And Mormons don't recognize that authority. Prophet is without honor in his own home and among his own people. And so Nelson, is he without honor? Nope. Everybody loves him. He's getting an award for being the white supremacist of the year at a black college in Georgia. Morehouse College. That is so atrocious. That needs to be protested. Why aren't people protesting that? The church, everything they do, because they're false, is also false. It's also corrupt. It's also criminal. That's what people are not making the connection to, ex-Mormons. You know the church is false, but do you understand what that means? It means they can't do anything good. It means everything they do is a crime. Anti-Semitism, for example. Every time they say Jesus, they're an anti-Semite. They're pushing hate. They're not pushing love. That's what's so disgusting about this award he's getting. The Gandhi King Mandela Peace Prize. Because he's spewing hate at the pulpit of conference. And they're going to give him that award. It's going to be like getting Hitler the Peace Prize. It's an abomination. So, I mean, I even got the audio of Nelson as a racist. I've got Oakes, Stevenson, and now Cook giving the Heil Hitler. They've supported Nazi Germany. This is where they get all their ideas from. This is how they lock people up, me, indefinitely. It's because they got it from the Germans of Nazi Germany. They know how to do these things because of the past atrocities of our nation. And they've been a part of them as well with Mountain Meadows Massacre. But nonetheless, I think we'll end in an hour. It'll give me time to watch another episode of House of Cards, I guess. As that also needs to be switched as well. So yeah, this is a very dangerous and deadly conference.